I never thought a few words on a screen could feel like a punch straight to the heart. But that's exactly what happened when I read my son's text. Don't come to my graduation. Watch it online if you want. Just like that, in one sentence, everything I thought I knew about our relationship seemed to shatter. Imagine spending 22 years raising someone, sacrificing nights, weekends, paychecks, and even your sanity for their future. And being told, with almost casual indifference, that your presence isn't wanted. How do you even process that? I still remember staring at my phone for what felt like an eternity, my coffee forgotten on the counter, my hands shaking, and my heart racing. Was this a joke? A bad one? Or had I somehow failed as a mother without even realizing it? But before we continue, please subscribe and turn on the notification bell for updates. For those who don't know me, I'm Karen Mitchell, 45, single, working double shifts just to pay for college tuition and keep the lights on. Ethan, my son, 22, was supposed to graduate with honors from his university in a few days. I had been counting down every moment, imagining the smile on his face when he saw me cheering from the audience, imagining him running up to hug me crying happy tears, him rolling his eyes but laughing anyway. That dream felt ripped away in a single text. And the worst part? The words were not angry, not even mean. Just cold. It's not a big deal. Just stream it if you care. Do you know what's worse than outright rejection? The quiet kind, the kind that feels like it's meant to make you question yourself. I had given everything to Ethan, every ounce of effort and money, every sleepless night, every missed opportunity for myself. And now, I was left wondering if it was all meaningless. What kind of kid says something like that to their mother? And why did it feel like he wasn't just rejecting me, he was testing me? I didn't reply immediately. I sat in my small apartment, staring out the window at the city lights, replaying the text over and over in my head. Part of me wanted to scream, part of me wanted to cry, and part of me felt strangely calm. Maybe calm isn't the right word, maybe it was more like controlled rage. The next morning, I would respond, but I had no idea what chaos that single decision would set into motion. And that's when I saw the first sign that this wasn't just a simple snub. Something strange was happening while I was still trying to collect myself, something that would make me realize just how much I had underestimated my son, and how quickly a day that was supposed to be joyful could spiral into something unrecognizable. But what came next would change everything. And no one saw it coming. Have you ever felt invisible to the person you gave everything to? That's exactly how I felt the next morning. I thought maybe it would be better if I ignored it, pretended the text didn't sting, just went about my day. But every time my phone buzzed, my heart skipped a beat. Calls, messages, notifications piling up like a storm I couldn't escape. And yet, I didn't answer. Not once. Because something inside me told me this wasn't just about Ethan ignoring me. It was bigger, and I needed to see it unfold. Let me back up. Ethan was my world. From the day he was born, I had put him first, worked triple shifts when I could barely stand on my own 2 feet, and somehow kept a roof over our heads. And now, at 22, he was graduating from the very college I had sacrificed for, the very degree I had paid for with endless hours of labor. And he didn't want me there. Can you imagine the confusion? The hurt? I replayed that text over and over. It's not a big deal. Just stream it if you care. Not, I love you, not, I wish you were here. Just cold, almost clinical words. I asked myself, was he stressed? Influenced by friends? Or had we simply grown apart without me realizing it? I called a close friend for advice. Just watch online, she said. Don't take it personally. Maybe he's embarrassed. But could it really be that simple? 22 years of shared memories, milestones, sacrifices. Reduced to a text I barely wanted to believe. The day went on and I tried to focus on work. But then, something strange started happening. Ethan's phone, it wouldn't stop ringing. Calls after calls, texts after texts, notifications that just kept coming. And he wasn't answering a single one. I couldn't see his face, but I could feel the tension through the messages. Why wouldn't he answer? Who was calling? And why did it suddenly feel like I was watching a completely different version of my son, someone panicked, vulnerable, and unprepared for what was coming? I knew I should have looked away, closed my laptop, stopped obsessing. But I couldn't. Because what I saw next was the moment that would shift everything, and it was about to teach both of us lessons neither of us expected. But what happened next? Well, that's when things really started to get out of control. Have you ever tuned into a moment you weren't supposed to see, and suddenly it felt like the world had tilted just for you? That's what happened when I logged in to watch Ethan's graduation online. I expected pride, maybe a little sting from being excluded, but what I saw was something entirely different. The ceremony started, caps flying, applause echoing across the virtual stream. Ethan looked sharp in his gown, but there was something in his eyes, hesitation, a flicker of worry. He glanced around the crowd, and I swear I could see him noticing empty seats. Empty seats where I should have been. Did he realize yet that I was watching? Or did he think he had truly shut me out? I tried to focus on him walking across the stage, shaking hands, receiving his diploma. But every few seconds, his phone buzzed. Once, twice, 3 times. He ignored it all, but the tension was visible even through the screen. I could practically feel the adrenaline running through him. It was almost ironic, in a way. He had wanted distance, independence, a graduation without me. And now he was caught off guard by the chaos of his own life creeping up on him. And then it hit me, the whispering. Someone on stage leaned in, whispered in his ear. A teacher mentioned something just loud enough for the camera to catch. A friend nudged him. He shifted uncomfortably, looking around as if the room was suddenly speaking a language he couldn't understand. All while I sat there, hidden behind my laptop, watching him unravel. Did he know I was observing? Of course not. But he was panicking anyway. I couldn't help thinking back to all the nights I stayed awake, worrying if he'd make it through school, if he'd succeed, if he'd even remember to call me. And now, seeing him stumble under a weight he hadn't anticipated, I felt a strange mix of emotions. A mother's pride, yes, but also a quiet vindication. Sometimes life has a way of teaching lessons quietly, without a word, and I was witnessing one unfold right before my eyes. But what happened next, what he did in the final moments of that ceremony, was something I could never have predicted. And it changed everything. Have you ever seen someone you love unravel right in front of your eyes and realized that they had no idea you were watching? That's what happened in the final moments of Ethan's graduation. He was standing on the stage, diploma in hand, trying to smile, trying to act like everything was fine, but the truth was written all over his face. Panic. Confusion. That small, fleeting moment where confidence collapses. And I couldn't look away. It started with his phone again. One of those calls he had been ignoring finally went through. He answered, voice shaky, trying to hide whatever he was feeling. And then I heard it. Someone from the university, over the line, asking why a parent hadn't arrived. Just like that, the truth he had been trying to ignore was laid bare. The calls, the whispers, the glances from classmates, they weren't random. They were a ripple effect of a simple oversight he didn't expect, the absence of the one person who had been there for every scraped knee, every late-night project, every triumph and failure. I watched as the color drained from his face. He fumbled through explanations, stammered, and suddenly, the room felt much larger than it had a moment ago. His friends looked at him differently, some smirking, some whispering. And yet, he still had no idea I was there, silently observing, feeling the rush of emotions I'd kept tucked away for years. Frustration, disbelief, and yes, a small, quiet satisfaction. Not malice, but vindication. For the first time in a long time, he seemed human. Not the untouchable, independent adult I'd been struggling to accept, but someone flawed, vulnerable, and, perhaps, humbled. And I realized then, as I watched him process it all in real time, that this was a lesson life had delivered quietly, cleverly, and with perfect timing. But just as I thought the ceremony was over, just as I thought the tension had peaked, Ethan did something that made my heart stop, something that would mark the day in both of our lives forever. And it was completely unexpected. Have you ever experienced a moment that feels both victorious and bittersweet at the same time? That's exactly how I felt as Ethan's graduation ended. The final applause faded, the confetti fell, And yet, the weight of the day lingered, heavier than any diploma could ever carry. I closed my laptop slowly, not because I had to, but because I finally let myself breathe, finally let the emotions I had bottled up for years flood through me. Pride, anger, relief, and yes, satisfaction, mixed in ways I didn't expect. Watching him from afar, unseen, I realized something crucial. This wasn't about punishment. It wasn't about revenge. It was about recognition, and the strange way life teaches us that sometimes the lessons we resist are the ones we need most. Ethan had spent years believing he could assert his independence, dismiss my presence, even deny the sacrifices that had carried him to this stage. And now, faced with the reality of his choices, he finally understood, without a single word from me, what my role had truly been. I thought back to all the nights I'd worked double shifts, all the time I spent worrying over homework, college applications, and tuition bills. I thought of the birthday parties I skipped, the sleep I lost, the moments I swallowed my own frustration so that he could flourish. And now, after all of that, I realized something surprising. The validation I had been seeking from him, the recognition I craved, wasn't necessary. I had witnessed his triumph. I had been present, even when he didn't know it. And that alone was enough. By the time the day ended, I felt a quiet sense of closure. Ethan had learned his lesson, perhaps in the most humbling way possible. And I had reclaimed a piece of my own power without ever stepping foot in that crowded auditorium. The irony wasn't lost on me. Sometimes the loudest impact comes from silence, from watching, from being steady while the world around you spins in chaos. So, what's the takeaway here? Life will test you, your patience, your resilience, even your love. But sometimes, the victory isn't in confrontation, it's in presence, in witnessing, in knowing the truth of what you've given and never needing anyone else to acknowledge it. If you've ever been overlooked, dismissed, or hurt by someone you love, remember this. You see more than they know, and sometimes that silent awareness is the most powerful thing you can have.